I'm here today with my colleague Katerina Pechotsky, who is a great authority on Renaissance literature with a special interest in cartography. And this seems to me a really fascinating way to think about Camões, because really he is the first great poet who is living the new global experience opened out by these explorers in the period. So tell me, you see it even, I think, in the first canto. Maybe you could read that for us, get a feel of how he leads us into this new world he's discovering.
Absolutely. So Camões wrote the Lusíads in 1572, and it really shows us the wonderful cartographic worlds that are opened up in these stanzas. And the first canto opens like this. I'm going to read it in Portuguese. As armas e os barões assinalados que da ocidental praia lusitana, por mares nunca de antes navegados, passaram ainda além de Taprobana, em perigos e guerras esforçados, mais do que prometia a força humana, entre gente remota edificaram novo reino que tanto sublimaram.
Dynamite. Maybe you could read it also for us in English.
Absolutely. The first stanza of Canto 1. Arms are my theme, and those matchless heroes who from Portugal's far western shores, by oceans where none had ventured, voyaged to Taprobana and beyond, enduring hazards and assaults such as drew on more than human prowess among far distant peoples to proclaim a new age and win undying fame.
So what's the role of geography, of mapping, in this undying fame?
Well, we have here in the fourth line, actually, the word Taprobana.
And where on earth literally is Taprobana?
Where on earth is Taprobana? So this is actually a quite interesting thing. It's a Ptolemaic toponymy, really. Camões uses really a kind of spatial imagery that is very interesting.
And this goes back thousands of years, so it's not a newly discovered thing if it's from Ptolemy.
Ptolemy is not new, of course. Ptolemy wrote a very important treatise, the Geography, around 150 Common Era, and in Alexandria, so in Greek, and he was part of the Roman Empire. However, this treatise was lost for centuries, and it was only rediscovered during the Renaissance period. At the end of the 15th century, actually, it was brought from Byzantium to Italy, and then it became the most important, really, treatise on geography, competing with known treatises on geography.
So is Taprobana a real place? Or?
Taprobana is Ptolemy's name for either what is now known as Sri Lanka. Sometimes people identified it as Sumatra. So there is not a kind of clear idea what Taprobana is, but Taprobana was considered the world's most eastern edge and point. So when Camões says we will discover Taprobana, he really means we will sail to the end of the world, to the end of the Indian Ocean and beyond, além de Taprobana. And quite interestingly, he describes in his poem, actually, Vasco da Gama's circumnavigation of Africa and the exploration of the Indian Ocean, and Vasco da Gama's travel to India, and particularly to Calicut, which was a hub for spice trade in the 15th and 16th centuries. And there is a very interesting line here. Camões says that he will discover mares nunca de antes navegados, which means seas that had never been explored before, which is quite interesting.